So, welcome everyone to Autonomy Quest. Tonight, we are going to talk about and talk to autonomy graduates and get to know each other a little bit. We're going to play a few clips and we're going to hear from our featured graduate. Then, we're going to have some discussion together, and I have a few gifts to offer you before we sign out for the evening. We're going to answer your experiences or answer any of your questions about our experience in autonomy. And so thank you so much for joining us. We're really happy to have everybody here. Cannot wait for you to join our community. And tonight, if you heard earlier, Carlos is our featured student. So we're going to be talking about his journey, and then we are going to get, and we actually have a few clips to play about that. And then we're going to have some conversation with him about that. So hopefully that sounds good to everybody. So welcome, Carlos.
Hi, hello there. Well, should I just start now, Ashley, or?
So I think we're going to maybe play a couple of the
Okay,
clips first, and then we can touch base and get into it. How does that sound?
perfect. Well,
Okay,
to everyone.
great. So bear with me. I'm going to do screen sharing, so patience appreciated.
I think my potential was thwarted in school because, I was a very energetic child, especially in my younger years. And I think the schooling system didn't know how to deal with that. Um, I had a lot of behavioral issues because of that. It just didn't provide the tools I needed to thrive. Even after graduating college, I made it through to college and I was very unhappy. I wasn't making uh, great money, still caught up in that paycheck to paycheck mentality. So I didn't have the tools to succeed. The skills that I need but did not learn are, well, financial, like budgeting, just simple stuff. I never learned how to do any of that. Investments, like how do you, like time management, project management, any of that. You learn a lot of theory and you read, but when it comes down to having a understanding of the big picture, uh, I don't feel like I got that. But now going through autonomy, looking back at it, well, it's like I feel like I got robbed. Uh, uh, because, like I said, I double majored. I graduated from USC with two degrees, and I didn't know it. I mean, I didn't business major, but still, I took a business introduction class and I didn't learn anything about really, I mean, they compartmentalize stuff. And in autonomy, what you learn is like just functional stuff, like do this and then you're going to see this result. It's like things you need in real life. It's like, it's very practical. Things you can apply to your life like instantly. Uh, so, so that, like, I never learned all that stuff. So I'm having to reteach myself like the things I need to really survive in this world.
Right? And what does autonomy really teach? It teaches you a really simple method, but it's an effective method. And that method being the trivium. I think in autonomy, a lot of people know it as like input, processing, output. But it's the same thing, whatever you want to call it, whether logic, grammar, rhetoric, or input, processing, output. As long as you understand the basic concept, there's a basic understanding of gathering information, processing that information, organizing that information, in order for you to take effective action. So that tool is what's required, I believe, or at least one of the tools that's required in order for you to be able to create your own path to take effective action. Because for the majority of my earlier life, I just thought just to take action, but I didn't really have a map or a plan of all the necessary steps. That that tool, the trivium, has filled that void, and And because of that, I've been able now to not only create my own map, but take effective action in following that roadmap. I have had the pleasure of working with Richard, and it's been some of the most valuable uh, experiences that I've had in autonomy because, in addition to getting the Richard's complete attention and the wealth of experience and knowledge that he brings to the table, I think it's a great opportunity for others also to contribute, their experiences and what they bring to the table. And the lectures always help. There's a ton of value in the lectures and the opportunity that we get after the lecture, and in addition to Sunday Q&A for those who sometimes miss it, we get the opportunity to really get some clarity on if we have questions, for example. So yeah, overall, there's definitely no lack of inspiration in autonomy. There appears to be a ton of it. It's an abundance. So
Okay, so that was really good. And we have one more clip, and then we will start talking to Carlos about his journey. So bear with me once again.
howdy, Rich.
What's up, Carlos?
Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to say something because one of the things that I learned going through season 9 was, in the beginning of the season, it was very difficult for me to participate, and so I just want to say that that's something that I want to share, as that was a big obstacle for me, and as I participated more, um, it was just like a compound effect. Like the more uh, positivity came back from everyone in the community. So yeah, I'm super excited with season 10. Season 9 was just one of the most amazing experiences in my entire life. And then just the cherry on top of that was just kind of meeting the people who were able to attend Porcupine Fest at the end of the season 9 semester. Was just amazing. So I just wanted to share that with the new students.
And encourage them to, maybe if they can, make it in real life event. Ours is the Porcupine Freedom Fest, and it's on the East Coast, and that's not fair to West Coast or international people. However, we've had people from the Netherlands and Mexico and the Far East and all sorts of places in between figure out they can make it to New Hampshire. And it's not for everybody. There's a little camping involved, or you get a
Yeah,
hotel room.
as a matter of fact.
Yeah, how'd that work?
Oh, I mean, autonomy really pushed me outside of my shell, and really going to Porcupine Festival was my first time in the East Coast. So yeah, my season 9, those 3 months like completely changed my entire life, not only personally but also with like my business, like just my clients. My entire life changed, and I think it's all in part, well, mostly because of the community here in Autonomy, how amazing it is. And yeah, it's absolutely right. Like if you show up to your integration exercises, you're gonna learn, you're gonna get better, and people around you are just gonna start seeing that as well.
And to make sure you take ownership over that experience, I'm going to point it out like this. The community was here many years, and it didn't change your life. It's when you showed up for yourself that element changed your life, right? Like we were doing this 2019, 2020, 2020. Oh, you came along 2023. Now it starts to change your life because you started to change your life, and you're a reflection of the changes you've made. And it was
Absolutely
awesome to meet you in person, and you've grown even since I last saw you in June. And I'm looking forward to seeing you throughout season 10 because we need more good leaders and examples like all of you from season 9 that have showed up tonight, and everyone who showed up from the seasons before. I mean, it takes a long time. I mean, it's pretty hard to hold on to this course since season 1 or 2. Those people that have done that, like those people are serious about themselves and care about the people around them. That's how they do that. So, Carlos, what was one of the challenging things when you went through autonomy and it made you maybe want to quit or not show up or this sucks and I don't want to do that? Like any of that type of stuff?
For me, it was getting like I would get in my own way, one way or another. And so what autonomy like season 9, what it was like an awareness that was that came to me about like I stopped with excuses, and it was like I just had to look in the mirror and take responsibility for my life. Like that's what autonomy really did for me. I just the excuses stopped. I started just showing up, scheduling my success. And autonomy really provided all the tools, like the getting things done really, like I think was one of the first few weeks. I mean, I just started practicing that right away, and you just start seeing the difference like immediately. So yeah, I think for me was just getting out of my way, my own way. I was my own worst enemy. But autonomy, going through the courses and the exercises, really an awareness came, and I was like, hey, I'm like, I don't know why I'm upset at external factors when the answer is right here. And so what autonomy really taught me was like I've always been in the driver's seat, so start going where you want to go. And so I guess that was my greatest obstacle, and it still kind of is, but now I have the tools, and I know, like I know how to organize things. I know, so I use software now that makes my life easier. And it's like that method that you teach. You have the tools. Learn how to use these tools to make your life easier. So yeah, that was my greatest obstacle. I'm still working on it, but yeah, it's getting better.
I like how you put that you're in the driver's seat. It's like, yeah, a lot of people don't realize they're in the driver's seat. If you're complaining about your life, guess what? You're in the driver's seat. It's like a reflection of what you're doing behind the wheel. You don't like where you're at. Let's turn the wheel and get to someplace you want to be and learn how to drive your car and not wreck into other people. And that's the gist. You can go all over the place. All right. That's a perfect way to bring this first part of the meet and greet to a crescendo.
All right, that was great. I love those clips, and I actually was live when Carlos had that conversation, but it was really good to see it again. So, Carlos, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey to autonomy and maybe start at the beginning? Like, where did you even hear about autonomy to begin with?
Hey, Ashley. Hey, everyone. Well, first, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences with everyone, because it's definitely, I think, a journey that I'm still kind of going through. And these past, I would say, let's see, 9 months or so have been the most exciting 9 months in my entire life. Uh, and it's just, I'm just super grateful to be part of to have so many people being part of my projects now and getting to know more people and understanding like the communication aspect. Uh, so I first, but to get back to your question, I first kind of heard about Richard Grove. Uh, well, it was a journey. I kind of indirectly. So I guess how the origin of it was a podcast.
Mhm.
I had been listening to a podcast since about 2016 called the Higher Side Chats, and that's how I found out about the Freedom Cell Network. So when March 2020 came, I was like many people, I felt very alone. I felt like I didn't have a lot of people to talk to, especially because I had a different perspective on what was going on. And so I reached out to my local Freedom Cell Network. I made an account and I started kind of meeting up with people locally. And then they had their greater reset that happens at least once a year. And during that time, Richard Grove had a time slot, and I remember his interview about autonomy, and he was just talking about the skill sets, like, everything he was basically talking about the autonomy course. And and I had just left my job because I had a very fine line. I come from the legal field, so I had been working in the legal field for about 6 years. And when March 2020 came, they started asking about testing and stuff like that, and that's where I drew the line. When it got to when people started telling me what to do with my health, it was a very easy decision for me. So I left, and I quickly found myself in a very difficult situation because I lacked a lot of these foundational skill sets that we need to survive. Like, how do you conduct yourself in the marketplace, for example? Like, I knew how to do things, I knew how to get clients through word of mouth, but I didn't have an understanding like about accounting, marketing, content creation, any of that. That was I knew almost nothing about that. So when I came across Richard's interview, he was just providing all the solutions that I kind of needed, like at that time. So I wanted to join right away, but finances were a thing. I exhausted a lot of my savings, so I had to kind of wait for the right opportunity, and that opportunity came through one of the events. Um, and with that, I ended up talking to Lisa Manfredi, going through the whole obstacle course or the inspiration course. And finally, I talked to Lisa Manfredi, and that was the greatest conversation I had ever had to that point, because it was just a realization about what my goal, like what do I want, and what my obstacles are. And like I just felt Lisa was a great point of contact, because right after that conversation, I remember feeling extremely good. And then I got her email, and we had just through that 1 hour blueprint conversation, I had mentioned, one of the biggest things is my finances, and she gave me some resources for books to read. And so, uh, and then kind of talk to me about Wealth Battle, which is something that's offered through Autonomy, where we learn about just how to like take responsibility of our finances. And and yeah, so that's how I kind of came across the Autonomy. And once I got in, I, as you guys know, I mean, you guys, I'm always in the forum, because it's like if you want to learn stuff, there's always something to learn in Autonomy. It's like, for example, like the first season, I came in season 9. Like to me, season 9, I was able to kind of put all the pieces together for me. Like I was like, oh, email sequence creation. Okay, that's where that goes. Uh, content creation. Okay, that or editing. And so I started putting all the pieces together of what it takes for like a concept to take a concept and bring it into reality. And so that was kind of how I spent my first season. And now season 10, going through season 10, um, I've basically have begun to see like areas I need to focus on. Like I've realized like now I'm creating a course, a mini course. And so I guess this is another interesting part is I never thought myself a techie person or that, but because of this simple method that we teach in Autonomy, like the trivium, right? Uh, we learn about meta learning, like how do you teach yourself things, like a lot of things really fast. And so like it's really opened up my awareness to things I had never ever considered. Like for example, editing. I would have never in my life thought that I would be getting into editing, but now I realize, okay, I need to learn how to edit in order to create the content that I want. So like things start presenting themselves to you where you're at almost. And so I find myself like right in the midst of that, like of that exploration of things I like, things I don't like, things I need. And that's why I said in the beginning, it's like exciting times.
Absolutely. So I have you and I have worked together quite a bit because you're actually the leader of my mastermind group that I participate in every week. And you do an amazing job with that. So, and you also helped me on my very first time of Do It Live. You were, coaching me, guiding me through that somewhat stressful process using Zoom. So I even in our interactions, because I'm a season 10 graduate, I have seen you continue to blossom even from where you were before. So you've talked about a lot and being a season 9 and season 10 participant. So why don't we go back to season 9 and talk about what you actually participated in? Because it sounds like you were putting together the pieces of sort of realizing all of these other areas of skill sets that you could potentially work on, seeing how they were involved in our community, how you could start developing those skills. But what was your focus during season 9 to start out with?
Well, in retrospect, I think the biggest, I didn't know it then, but now I can look back, and I think the thing that I worked on the most was my confidence. I think the first thing that I did was I jumped in. I tend to always jump in the deep end of the pool, and so I remember uh I think it was Joshua at the time. He mentioned, "Oh, we don't have a Do It Live host." It was during our Friday night lectures, and Do It Live's on Saturday. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And I made that decision right then and there, and I took myself off of mute, and I said to everyone in the class, hey, I'll host Do It Live. And with like a few hours notice, not knowing like it's a podcast that I'll be hosting, and I had never hosted anything, so that's how I got started. I doing it live, and that was great because it helped me with my confidence, specifically like public speaking. Prior to that, I uh, I would rarely come off mute. When I would talk in sound bites, like 30-second sound bites, and so it's been something that has helped me communicate uh, better and more clearly, and that's been especially beneficial when talking with clients, and trying to get contracts or work for different things. Like I now my attention span has really grown where I'm able to like ask questions, listen, and then ask more questions to get a refined, clearer answer of what the client needs or wants and how I might be able to help that person. So Do It Live was something I did right away. That was, I think, the first thing I did. And then the other thing I focused on in season 10 was project management. That was very new to me. I knew how to do projects, but I had really always worked like independently. And so one of the things that I wanted to learn was how to work in teams, because in teams we could get things done faster and more efficiently. And so I spent a lot of times with Mike. I don't know if he's here today, but
Yes, he's here.
He's a season 1 graduate, and he has a ton of experience. I mean, I don't know if he wants to talk a little bit about his background, but he worked in multi-million dollar projects here in the States and as a project manager. And uh, he basically took me under his wing. I would just show up to he has it on Mondays. I think he still does in the morning. And I mean, I look forward to it because I learned so much about, in addition to all like the different skill sets, he's really big on just like your health, like your sleep, like sleep patterns. We just talked about all kinds of stuff, like to put yourself in the best possible position so you can be of value, right? And so how do you do that? You have to ensure that you get your rest, but not only that, but understanding that we all go through our cycles of like peak times. So there are times during the day where we're most effective, and then there are times during the day where we're least effective. And so when you have that understanding, you just can become like a super person. Like we're really big on a 4-hour work week. If you ever attend his classes, he's big on like, hey, you don't have to work that hard. It's a word that's work smarter, not harder. And
Right.
so that's another area that I focused on. My first on season 9 was project management tips and techniques, and I kind of dibbled in and out into a lot of other meetings. I but there's so much in autonomy. Like
Yes, there's
if there's
definitely there's a ton out there, and I do wanna get to that in the rest of your story, but one of the other things that I wanted to ask you about is, how you found so I know that Do It Live really helped with your confidence and your on-screen presence, but what about the integration exercises that we do? We start interviewing each other as well as participating in class, on the Friday night class and Sunday afternoon, that Q&A, I mean, do you think that those also helped you get over the public speaking phobia and to be able to put your camera on and speak up and really start interacting with people? And if so, why don't you tell us a little bit about that experience, as particularly Q&A and integration exercises?
yeah, so the integration exercises are like, and it's funny because when I first heard about the integration exercises, I didn't like them because I was like, oh no, it was just the indoctrination, I guess, of like thinking, looking at it as homework almost. But uh, in retrospect, like it's the most amazing work we can do because uh, you get to know yourself by interacting with others. And so the integration exercise, like the first integration exercise, is basically how to get to know someone you've never met before. And so, which is so, it's like even just saying that, it's like unfortunately it's so uncommon, right?
Yes. Well,
But
that's what I wanted to ask you before we move on in that, because I wanted to ask you, you said you had resistance to it. So why don't you talk about what resistance you felt whenever well, just to give everyone an overview, our integration exercises are where we, like what Carlos was saying, where we interview each other. So you have kind of a guided structure to start getting to know each other, and you have a structure for a conversation and interview. And it works on a lot of levels of, like Carlos was saying, boosting your confidence, of getting to know your classmates. I mean, I had some amazing conversations, but at first it may feel a little bit daunting. So why don't you talk to us about what was your resistance in that regard, Carlos? Like, what did you dread about it? What seemed overwhelming to you about it?
I didn't think honestly the major resistance for me was I didn't think I would be able to talk for someone for an hour because usually we schedule an hour for those. I was like, man, what are we gonna talk about like for a whole hour? But once you do it, it's like, oh man, it just happens so naturally, and um, and you learn to listen, and you learn how amazing other people are, and their skill sets, and what they're into, their hobbies, and that in itself opens you up to things you don't think about regularly. So I've learned a great deal through the integration exercises, and that's actually how you like now that's the same kind of approach I use when I meet anyone that's new or anyone who I'm interested in working with. I do that in first integration exercise. It's a great exercise to do.
Amazing. Okay, so why don't you tell us about the transformation? So you've had amazing conversations with people, you got to know your classmates, it sort of gave you a structure for some professional type conversations. But what else did you get out of those of of the exercises with your classmates?
Well, there's different exercises. Another one that I really enjoyed was the sales exercise because I never considered myself sales. And for those of you who have a negative, that's a trigger word for you, sales, Richard Grove does an amazing job at teaching you ethical sales, and it's very different. So that's I think like lecture eight or something. But the sales exercise is great. Um, because it prepares you for like real life situations of where you have to pitch your offer, right? And so the sales exercise, it really frames it in a way where you ask questions and then you try to also those questions you want to unveil a lot of the obstacles or resistances that people have, and the way you do it is by providing solutions or of value in return. So it's a great exercise to prepare you for like the business world, I think. And so that's another integration exercise that I really enjoyed.
Okay, amazing. So you sort of, would you say that you worked on the basics in your first season? Like you got in, you got comfortable, you got acclimated with, Friday night lecture, Sunday Q&A. And did you join a mastermind your first season as well?
I did, yes, and that was extremely valuable. That was the first time I had a group of people that we would meet regularly, and I don't know if people have experienced this, but when you
Yeah,
get together with
tell us a little bit about what is a mastermind and then how it helped you.
so I actually so that's a funny I'm glad you asked that because prior to joining Autonomy, I had come across mastermind concept through Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and I had been attempting to start one on my own with like my friends, but it never happened. For one reason or another, it just wouldn't happen. And then when I found out that Autonomy offered that, I was just so excited, and it was more than what I expected because it's not until you really experience, like one thing is reading about it, another thing is experiencing that. And I think that's oh wow, that's kind of what Autonomy has given it gives you that experience um that we sometimes need. Uh oh man, that kind of brought me back to an earlier meeting that I was having with Mike today about experience and rites of passage, because I truly feel that anyways, I digress. You asked me about let's see, remind me back. I was my mind went into another direction there.
Well, we talked about masterminds and your experience with that and the fact that just an overall idea of what masterminds is, and you had already heard of that and you participated. So you did a lot of things even in your first season, but was any of that mandatory?
No, no, it's things that I needed, things that like kind of I gravitated towards, if you will. Oh, and I remembered my point. So the mastermind, I had never in my life had seven other people, because the way it works is every week there's someone different in the hot seat. So when it came to me being in the hot seat, I had never had seven other people around me, like well online, just completely focused on like my points, what I was talking about, my goals, my struggles, my obstacles. And then when I was finished, then I was able to get their feedback. And wow, like the perspectives, the experiences that the seven other people bring is it you know is like now I understand why it's called a mastermind. It's a
Yeah.
great term for it. But yeah, it's just beautiful. Like magic starts happening, you know?
Yep.
And
Yep. And now
anyways,
you're hosting your own masterminds group, of which I am a part of. So, and you do an amazing job. So it's really very cool to know your story of coming in as a student and really getting the lay of the land and then coming into your own with all of these different projects that you have been involved in and sort of working on. So I think we've covered a lot, you and I wanted to turn it over to the group to see if anybody has anything that they want to add to that, or if they have any questions for Carlos. Please feel free to chime in.
What have you learned as hosting a mastermind?
that's a great question. What have I learned? I learned that it's important to be like to show up for other people. Um, like show like creating that space, like having that that space that people look forward to, that they know that you're going to be there at that time at during that day, and that creating that safe place where important things are going to be discussed. uh I think that's one of the most valuable things that I've learned from the mastermind group, that I want that to be part of my life, like forever. Like I don't think that it's just a one-time thing for me. Like one of the reasons I decided to do like be the facilitator of a mastermind group, because someone did it for me, and so I want to be able to pay it back, if you will. Um, and so it's just I've learned gratitude, being grateful for those who were there for me, and I want to do the same thing. I guess that's one thing that I've learned for sure.
So what were some of your biggest challenges with um, autonomy in general? I know that Rich had asked you about that, but now being through 2 full seasons and, the challenges in your day-to-day life through these, these 2 seasons, what do you feel like were your biggest challenges that you dealt with or perhaps some struggles?
Well, for me was the scarcity mindset for sure. Like I would always uh, fall victim to like a paralysis through analysis. Like I would try to analyze every single detail, and that would sometimes lead to inaction, and you don't want to be paralyzed when you don't need to be.
Yeah,
So uh, that the scarcity mindset was really big, and like the negative self-talk, that sometimes, oh, we can't do that, or I don't have that experience, or I don't have those resources. That's why I that, it's like that's negative self-talk. And so I've gotten better. I mean, it's still like things that you work on. They're not easy to kind of overcome, but things that I'm more aware of now, and I can catch myself. But hey, okay, I'm that, and then so now I apply logic to it, and I just remember like things are a process. So if you have a method in place, like I like to tell people, persistence is my insurance against failure, and so yeah, so yeah, for me was a scarcity mindset, negative self-talk, um, and yeah, like I said in that earlier clip, I was my biggest enemy. I just didn't realize it.
yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's something that those issues are exactly some things that I've struggled with as well. It looks like we have a question from Peter. Go ahead, Peter.
Hey, so I just had a kind of two questions. One, a general question about the whole program, and then a question about the sales stuff you talked about. But so the first question is kind of like, what's the structure of the program? Like, how long does a season last? It sounds like, are there like, is there only one season a year? And then how long does that last? And it sounds like you guys might meet once as like a whole group, like all the seasons together, like once a week, and then there's uh I don't know, in the like smaller calls, like what you were talking about, masterminds or other types of calls throughout the week that everyone can join, depending on their interests and whatnot. And then so I was just wondering about all that, number one, and then number two is like if you can go into some of the more uh the sales details that you learned about, that'd be great because I'm interested in specifically that stuff.
Sure. So maybe I can answer the question about the sort of the structure, and then maybe Carlos can talk to us a little bit about the sales and anyone else who has experience there. So the structure of the course is Friday night is the live lecture where Rich is lecturing us, and that is from 9 p.m. Eastern time to usually around midnight, maybe a little bit after. And then there is a Q&A where we all get to participate, ask Rich questions. And so you're maybe looking at like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. And all lectures are recorded. So if you can't be there at that time, that's totally okay. Everything is recorded and made available to you on the next day. So it's a really quick turnaround. And then there's a Sunday Q&A where everybody in from the program, past seasons, current seasons, whatever, can show up. And then we have Rich again from 12 p.m. to usually about 3 p.m. And that does vary some. Like, for example, when we do get into sales, sometimes those calls can be a little bit longer because people will stay on and have an opportunity to do some sales practice with Rich. And so, as far as who shows up, so all lectures are designed for that particular season. But once you're in, you have a lifetime membership. So you may remember Rich was speaking about some season 1 and season 2 people, and we do have season 1 or 2 Mike on this call who are still showing up after all the time. Seasons last for 12 weeks, and then there's 3 bonus lectures. And then there's 2 seasons a year. So my season 10 started in September, and then season 11 is starting in March. So it's biannually. And like I said, everyone can show up who has been through the program. And so you have a really rich amount so many diverse people that you're hearing from. I mean, questions, you have people from all over the United States, internationally, that are participating, and it really is a pretty amazing experience to hear what they are, what resonated with them, what issues they may be having, what questions they may have for Rich. Like it's pretty incredible. And then on Sunday Q&A, you also have breakout rooms, so you have a chance to interact with your fellow students, and usually there's a topic that y'all can discuss, and it's a great way to meet people like, oh, hey, that was really cool. I want to set up an integration exercise with this person, and and get to know them a little bit better. So it's pretty amazing. So those are the basics, is the Friday night lecture and the Sunday Q&A. And then the other stuff throughout the week, so we have once we get into sales, there's a Tuesday night Rainmaker sales training. And then you can join a mastermind group, but that's not until a bit later in the season. So really those first couple weeks are like coming in, getting your bearings, seeing what the community has to offer, getting used to the forum, getting to know your classmates and all that good stuff. So it kind of they refer to it basically as climbing the mountain. So first you're just getting into base camp, you're getting your gear ready to start climbing the mountain. So that's how it goes. Now, Carlos, if you want to talk about a little bit about the sales training.
Yeah, so I'm not a complete expert in it, but it's something that I found value in it, and it's towards the latter part of the course because um, it's like how can I say this? Like you don't learn it just in that lecture. Like a lot of the things you learn early on in the lectures apply to the ethical sales part. So, for example, one of the things we learn in the first four lectures, I believe, is like different understanding that different personality types, for example. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't like reviewed these notes, but there's like some people use the gems for personality types, and some people use like the animals, like the eagle, uh, the owl, the parrot, and the dove or the pigeon,
Stuff.
right? So these are all different personality types, and if people can do research on this, you know, a lot of people use these personality types to understand like who you're talking to. Because, for example, if I'm talking to an owl, like they just want like owls are more like it's all about logic. Things need to make sense. So, like we learned that early on in the course. So, how do you apply that to the sales aspect? Well, if you're encountering someone like that, well, you don't want to use like your sympathy, for example, to really to get to that person. That's not gonna, that person wants to know like the facts about whatever it is that you're talking about. So that just understanding that, right? It just puts you on a different kind of I guess, for lack of a better word, it kind of gives you that leverage of being able to communicate on that person's like how they communicate. So it's like you understand that rhetoric that needs to take place in order to get your point across. And I would say, and these are just things that are coming off my head. I didn't prepare for this question, but another thing would be like just learning not to talk that much, listening and asking the right questions. So we apply the a Pomodoro method, so it's like we ask questions 80% of the time, we listen, and then we talk 20% of the time. And what we're really looking for is like, okay, what are the obstacles in this person's way? Like, what are his problems? And the whole ethical part of it is you're just not trying to sell a product because it's not about like we're not about like if you've made it this far, it's you know, usually people are quite ethical, and we don't just sell things just to sell things. Like we sell things because we believe in something. And so when you're coming at it from that point of view, the ethical part of it is trying to truly resolve those problems. And the thing is with sales, it doesn't have to necessarily be an actual product per se. It could also be a service that you provide. So, I mean, those are just some examples that come to mind. I hope uh, they've provided some clarity on that. But obviously,
Yeah.
Rich's lecture is way more intensive, and that's one of the beauty, the beautiful things that I keep coming back is because like you continue to find value in those lectures, even though because those lectures are live every time he does it, but every time he does it, there's always something different that you pick up, and 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 that in itself is like there's always gems hidden within those lectures. So that's why I keep coming back and listening to them because every time I do, I pick up something else.
100%. And I wanted to chime in on the sales too. Fundamentally, what I got out of it was you basically transition. So, our earlier integration exercises are those interviews that we're doing with each other as classmates. How did you find out about autonomy? What are your goals? Basic things. And then you take that foundation and then you start moving into a sales role, and you're role playing that you are a salesperson with your classmates. And what that allows you to do, in my opinion, is build confidence in speaking with people um, in that environment. And then you start to, of course, like the more you practice, the better, but you start to be more confident in those conversations. And then, like what Carlos was saying, it really teaches you to ask questions. Um, because what we do want to do is solve problems in an ethical way. We want to be able to help them solve those problems. And how can we do that? And so, in what we work on is from the autonomy perspective. But it was really incredible for me. One of my most favorite parts of the course was the sales training. And does anybody else have anything that they want to chime in on in regards to sales or the structure? And then I know that Stephanie wants to add some things as well, just about what the course has to offer. Go ahead, Stephanie.
So another example of the smaller meetings each week, there's a lot of student-led meetings and events. I used to run a homeschoolers meeting once a month, and we mentioned earlier Mike's project management meeting, super helpful for a lot of people. It's just too early in the morning for me. And so these are extracurriculars that you can choose from, and when you have your blueprint call, you should probably bring that up, just to let them know, like, if you want to be involved in any of these, because there's group coaching as well. And there's also like a marketing group. There's all kinds of things. Make sure you tell your blueprint call host like what you want out of this program.
Yes, definitely. Lisa will absolutely want to know that information about what you're looking to get out of it. Um, Peter, did that answer your question?
Yes, I really appreciate the input and experience.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your question. We really appreciate that, and please let us know if there's anything else that you are curious about. And thank you, Stephanie, for your input on that, because there really is a lot. I don't want people to feel overwhelmed though, because I think that just from my perspective, I think it's important to come in on your first season to get your bearings on the flow of the course. You have the 10 to 15 hour commitment to really be engaged in like your Friday night lecture, your Sunday Q&A, and then your integration exercises. And that is depending on what time frame somebody has, how much time you have during the week. That is normally where I start to recommend, like, focus on those 3 things. And then in the meanwhile, you're getting to know your classmates and you're seeing what is available through the program. Like what Stephanie was saying, there's so much that you can be involved in. And then you can sort of see and start pursuing your interests if you have that extra time to do so. Any other questions? Comments? Any other grads want to chime in?
What was that you were saying, Ashley, about the th Friday night, the three things that you should focus on? So on Saturday, what's happening on Saturdays?
Yes, there is the Do It Live student-led podcast that happens every Saturday, which is led by Carlos, and I think Mike Nemitz is still doing it as well. And that's when students have an opportunity to come into an already established program and practice podcasting.
Mhm.
So that's one more thing to help, obviously, like interacting with your classmates, but also gives you practice hosting, managing Zoom, sharing, screen sharing, all of that stuff.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Faye.
Hi. Sorry, I've had my camera off because I'm multitasking, but I've been listening. I'm taking all the info in. I there's parts of this course that sound amazing for me, and I guess I'm wondering, and then there are some things people are describing that I already feel pretty comfortable doing. And I wonder how that works if you come in with sorry, there's some piano practicing happening in the background. So maybe I'll just make it specific to myself. I've worked in documentary film for many years, but and so I feel comfortable.
Oh, I think we lost Faye. Hopefully she'll come back in with her question.
Faye sounds like a great candidate for pro media.
Absolutely. And when she hops back on, maybe you can talk to her about that, Stephanie. Yeah, hopefully she'll be back with us.
But
All right,
I
well,
think she was making a great point. And because I was actually thinking about this earlier, was like the different skill sets that people have and like the different like where people are at. Sometimes you have people with like Stefano that has 15 years professional editing experience, and then like someone like myself who knows nothing of that, right? And it just like it's been my experience is like well, if you have that experience, then you just get even better at whatever it is you're good at,
You
and the
apply it
things
to
that
something different.
you're right, or yeah, and oh, okay, I need to focus on this, kind of like how I was like I understood like I need to work on my editing now, like I understand the importance of it now. Prior to that, I was like, oh, that's not for me, I guess, but anyhow.
yeah, and I was also thinking maybe in a mentor role, or collaboration with other high level people in that particular area. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I'll
Or
ask Carlos, you got a short story about maybe an example of like you before and then you after in autonomy and how that applied to like you know, a job or a project that you were working on?
uh sure. You know, if it wasn't for autonomy, I would probably have gone back to the 9 to 5 thing. But because of the skill set, like the skills that I've acquired, like I've gotten the confidence now where I'm like the best employee I've ever been, but on my terms. Like a good story would be with a particular client. Like one of the like what are the first rules that we learn in autonomy? You know, number one, integrity, right? Like have integrity. Like it's so simple, but that's like valuable thing. If you have integrity and trust, like if people have that, and that's built over time, trust. But if people start seeing like that you have integrity, that means you say you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do by the time you said you would do it. Man, you are gold. You like that's all people want, you know. And so if you can, like that's one thing that uh I think I could take away as something that prior to autonomy, I didn't put that, I wasn't aware, I guess, for lack of, I guess I didn't have that awareness. And now it's like I realize like that is the most important thing. And so uh, that short story would be that, just realizing like people want people with integrity, like if, especially if people are want to like be involved in business and entrepreneurship, and like if you could provide integrity to them, like that's, you're going to be gold.
And so
Very good. Oh,
could I
go
just
ahead.
ask,
Sorry, Peter.
Carlos, I had a quick question on that. So you said without the without autonomy, you probably would have gone back to the 9 to 5. So what are you doing now, if you don't mind sharing? Like, are you running your own business? And if so, what type of business is it? And anything to that end? Thanks.
Yeah, so thanks to the project management course that I kind of gravitated towards in autonomy, I began to venture out to things I had never ventured out before, and I think that's where my confidence, that confidence aspect goes into, plays a role. Is you start doing things that I would never have done before. So I picked up a client renovating a house, and I was a project manager for that, and Michael was big in making sure that I had the resources in order to get that project done. That project has now led to another project working on 3 sailboats. One of them is a sailboat and 2 yachts. So, so that's just one client. I've developed other skills like in tech, and so right now I'm like learning about like managing someone's website. So that's things that I had never done before. That now, because I've shown my integrity in other projects, clients have placed that trust and patience, because even though I tell them, hey, you know what, I don't have that experience, but I understand how to learn that, because that's another thing that we talk about in autonomy, is how to teach yourself things. And that's where the tool of trivium, I think, big role is. If you understand a simple method, man, sky's the limit. You could teach yourself whatever. So that scarcity mindset is no longer there. Like I know I can learn coding. I know I can learn software management, and now I'm getting clients that are giving me that opportunity. So now I'm in a position where my income now is completely diversified. Like I'm doing things I had never in my life. I have no experience in project management. I had no experience in like managing a website. I have no experience in coding, but those are all things that I'm doing now and providing that service to people. So yeah, and that's why it's exciting, because now I don't know where it's gonna. Now I'm into the point where I'm like creating content. Like right now I'm working on creating a course. So I'm trying to learn about the marketing aspect of it, the editing aspect, the pre-production, and the post production. So part, like before coming to this meeting, I was in the social media meeting, because I don't really I didn't really have social media. Like I stopped with all that like in 2017. But now that I have this offer that I want to bring to the market, like I realize, hey, those are tools. Like I need to understand how to use these tools for my product. So yeah, I guess I'm involved in a lot of different things, and it's exciting that I know I have the faith in myself to be able to do that, you know?
Okay, Faye has also joined us again. She had some tech gremlins. I understand that. So, Faye, why don't you go ahead and get back to your question?
Sure. I just want to say, Carlos, I find what you're saying so inspiring. And it kind of connects to my question, because I've been in an industry for many years working in documentary film, but I've been in this like really kind of narrow part of it. And I think what's happened for me is like my tech skills have like I went to grad school in this field like 20 years ago, and my tech skills have really gone by the wayside since raising a family, and my kids are now old enough that I feel like I'm ready to dive back in, and it's like I don't have these skills, but I also don't have the mindset that I can learn them, right? I feel extremely blocked in that arena. And so I guess my bigger question is this course appropriate for someone like me who's coming in and saying, well, I'll say my mindset right now is I want to master some of these skills. I want to change my mindset so that I can move forward in my industry, and make the kind of work that I've always wanted to make, but have felt kind of like sidelined in? Or is this course really oriented toward people who, and I'll say, like, part of me feels that this is the only path forward, given the reality of what's going on in the world. Is this course really oriented toward people who want to become entrepreneurs, run their own business, specifically online businesses and online courses? Is that really where the focus is?
No,
Carlos,
we learn old world skills and apply them to the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
that's how I describe it.
and Stephanie does have a part of the course that she wanted to touch base with you about as well. And Carlos can speak on this, or anyone else, but I do want to say that it really is applicable to anyone at any level, because the big thing that I heard you mention here was having a block of like your forward progress. And so I feel like when you join the community, you really start to see that a lot of people have struggled with that and have been able to overcome it, because you have an environment that is specifically geared to help you move forward. And as far as having really advanced skills in documentary filmmaking, I think that, and what Stephanie's going to talk to you about is a very good, something you may want to consider, but also the collaboration angle, because there's a lot of people in the community who are also really advanced in various areas. And so they work to offer that to the community, to interact with other people, maybe to help them learn that. And so I really feel like it would be amazing for you. And it's not specifically for online business. It's what you want to use it for. Stephanie, do you want to talk to her about Pro Media?
Yeah. Am I still unmuted?
You're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I started to do work for other people after Autonomy, and have now branched out and gotten myself a new position with an entrepreneur. And he created this community. It's a lot like what I did with Autonomy. They started to hire me out. Like, I worked for the marketing arm of Autonomy, and went and was the community manager. Sorry, my dog is trying to pull to get into the dog park. So anyway, I got experience being a community manager, and it's nothing I would have ever thought. I didn't even know it existed. And then I also got to book guests for Richard's podcast. That was really fun, something I never thought I'd do. And so yeah, a lot of us will just apply these skills to our existing career, or think of a whole new one that you never knew existed. But the course that I wanted to tell you about is a new one this year called Pro Media. And we've been using it to create our own mini courses. And so that's going to be a revenue stream for each of the students that creates a mini course. And that's one direction that you can apply your skills.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like having skills in documentary filmmaking is like, you're going to meet people that are on the same page as you. I mean, I just feel really like it would really be helpful for you.
Faye, we have people who are professionals who are at the top of their game, who are leveraging what they learn in Autonomy to advance themselves in their profession. And we have that across the boards. So you would be, in the same position they are, learning all of these different facets to be able to take what you do know and have those breakthroughs and get to the next level. So it's not just an online marketing course. It's far beyond that. We actually have a resident documentary filmmaker who is kind of branching out and starting, and he's teaching everybody how to edit essentially right now. So there are people who are at your level in your profession right now working on things in Autonomy.
Great. Thank you for all those answers. I mean, I don't mean to oversell myself, because what I feel is that, like, the reason I think that I've reached this real plateau is because I've stopped moving forward. Like I keep shooting little projects, but I'm really blocked on editing, and I'm sort of blocked on collaborating with people, etc. And I feel like my skills have gotten sort of rusty. But if you look at my resume, people are like, wow, this is so great. Oh, can you come do this? And I feel like, well, actually, I don't. So I kind of shy away. I'm like, I don't think I actually have those skills. I feel like I look great on paper, but when excuse me, like the rubber hits the road, I feel like, ooh, and that's part of like self-confidence, but it also frankly is like outdated tech skills too. And then I also think, whatever, I'm just very encouraged by what I hear here. I mean, the idea of like self-teaching, like that sort of those autodidact skills, I see those in my kids because they go to a really alternative school. And as I see them in my kids, and even my husband, like he taught himself this new software over the last month. I'm really lacking that sort of confidence and ability to say, like, I'm gonna figure it out. I know that I can, learn this. So
Yeah, well, that's what I think, what Carlos said earlier in one of his testimonials was, that's what's in abundance here. And you have a community of people who are always going to be behind you and helping you succeed and get forward on that. And Richard, you have Richard, which is the magic of the whole thing.
Thanks for all the info.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Thanks for your question, Faye. Very happy to have you here. Okay, so do we have any other questions from prospective students? And if not, then I have another video to show, a quick clip of showcasing one of our graduates, Dave Randall. But I want to get to questions first. Robert, go ahead. Looks like you're muted, Robert. If you can hear me, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Okay. Hang tight, Robert. Then if you end up coming back, I'm going to show this clip and then we can get back to your question whenever we come back from that. Okay. So I'm attempting another screen share. So if you will all bear with me, I'll be right back.
And this is a fun project that one of our high-level resident artists had a 13-day challenge where he just let everybody come in and put in a piece of it. So this is the kind of stuff we do when we kick back in between seasons and we're having a good time. We wanted to share that.
One, two, three, four.
There's an important natural role we all can play as a maintainer of peace. It's in our nature to keep the peace. Modern society promotes a culture of bloodshed that we see in numerous military academies and training programs at nearly every university, that we see in entire school systems based on the militarized model, that we see in a constant barrage of violent content in the media, that we see in video games with war and battle simulations, as well as endless amounts of propaganda. Conversely, in society, there is no proportional effort to promote nor teach peace and collaboration. The military stirs up conflict and hides evidence of its activity. Their standard methodology is to entice, persuade, and convince people that conflict is the natural state. Despite the efforts of the war machine, there are elements of refusal that push back externally and even from within. In studies conducted by the military, the vast majority of soldiers never fire their weapon at the enemy in combat situations. In another turn of events, an entire National Guard brigade went AWOL and was deactivated during Operation Desert Storm. It was never reported in the news. The reality is nearly everyone desires the benefits of peace, even many in the military. Is our amicable nature not obvious? One could say that 90% of conflict is driven by miscommunication and misunderstanding. When there is conflict, practicing courageous acts of kindness and understanding is the most valuable way to develop a culture of excellence. An example such as the historic Nashville lunch counter sit-in illustrates the strategic effectiveness of a calm demonstration and how people can be educated to thoughtfully bring about resolution. Peaceful collaboration is an unrecognized value creator. We may not be able to change the entire world, but we do have the incredible power to establish a culture of excellence within our chosen communities. In doing so, we make people aware that where there is misunderstanding, there are choices. We can choose to learn and grow from our experience, rather than become embroiled in conflict, caught at the far end of the spectrum. Being aware that we have choices gives us the opportunity to see clearly where our nature lies. We believe that each one of us can prove to ourselves and to others that peace is what we desire.
All right, that was awesome. That was my first time seeing that, so that was really lovely.
I love that so much.
I agree. I was getting a little misty. It was so cool to see, the work of the classmates and hear Lee's voiceover. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Wonderful job, Dave. Okay, so prospective students, does anyone else have any questions that we can answer for you? And maybe if you want to do the hands up or just chime in, interrupt me, feel free to do that. And while we are waiting, I do have the freebies that I had mentioned. So I'm going to be dropping links in our chat here. So feel free to grab those. The most important thing on your journey, I think, is going to be setting up your blueprint call with Lisa. So I'm going to drop that in our chat first. And that's really going to be helping you to really clarify where you want to go on this journey. Dave, go ahead.
Hey everyone. So actually, I'm a graduate, and I wanted to address a question. I had to step out and eat dinner, so I'm sorry if I'm addressing it again. But there was a question. Someone got cut off. They were asking, as someone with a bit more experience in their career, what to expect. And so that was definitely the case for me. I'd studied info marketing, I'd studied sales. I basically worked professionally as a buyer, so I'm very familiar with sales techniques and culture. And I think there was a little thing that Carlos mentioned about the holistic aspect of the course and the way it ties things together. Using this kind of meta method of the trivium. And so for myself, even as someone well established, I learned a lot from the course, and got this more kind of holistic perspective about how different pieces fit together. And so in terms of that course material, even though I knew many of the things already, I'd read Harry Brand's The Secret to Selling Anything with this kind of ethical sales approach and this kind of thing. And so I still got real value out of the lecture course. And then as many of folks have said, it's really, I think, about the community, about the network, and the different things going on. And so I found it to be very valuable.
Thank you very much for that input. I really appreciate it. And do we have any other graduates that want to chime in? Okay. And as I said, I'm dropping some free goodies in the chat. So please do not miss out on these. We have the um, 19 essential skills for success that you're getting for free. We have the Mindset 1 course, anti-fragile lecture, and goal setting course that you're getting for free. We also have the Level Up, the Autonomy Mindset Level 2 lecture. So I'm dropping that in the chat. And oh, go ahead,
Ashley,
Leah.
would you
Yeah.
type in capital letters anti-fragile into the chat? That is the code to get that mindset anti-fragile lecture as a gift. So when you see the coupon code, put that in there, and that's for you, and it's very good.
Thank you, Leah. I think you sent that to me earlier. Sorry. But yes, I've got that anti-fragile coupon code in there for you. And then the coming up live. So please join this one. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is Learn How My Brain Works, which is a free workshop with Richard. And this is happening this Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be live. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I also wanted to go over a couple of other events that we have upcoming that I think you would be interested in. Oh, Dave was saying the level 2 link didn't open for me. Okay, I will check that out and drop it in just 1 second and see if we can get that going, Dave. Okay, so what we have coming up, as I said, Sunday, February 4th, Learn How My Brain Works free workshop. That's with Richard. That's 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday, February 24th, we have VIP 3, Truth to Freedom. Sunday, March 3rd, Season 11. This one's going to be amazing. This is an Ask Me Anything with Richard. Friday, March 1st, we have Landing Pad for new members. And this one's a lot of fun too. This is where new people are coming in, and we really want people to start getting to know each other, getting their getting familiar with their classmates. It's going to be really special for you down the road, knowing that that was the day that you met your classmates and the people that you are now very friends with. It's very special. Friday, March the 8th, Landing Pad for new members. So we're going to have 2 events. And then Friday, March 15th, we have the Autonomy Worldwide Meet and Greet. This is another extremely fun event. And then March 22nd, Season 11 lectures begin. So I really, really hope that we're going to see every one of you there. And then once again, to reiterate that Lisa is the person that you want to speak with, the blueprint call. And then the other thing that I wanted to do is invite you guys tonight at starting right now, but you won't miss out on much. But there is a ultimate history lesson with John Taylor Gatto. Many of you may be familiar with that, but during the off season, this community is going all the time. So they're covering on Friday night during the place of lecture, they're breaking down the ultimate history lesson, excuse me. And I'm going to drop the link in there for you guys to join that. So please feel free to drop in there, get an idea for, what some of these community events actually look like. It's really quite amazing. And I think that's the highlights. So here's the Zoom link for the ultimate history lesson. I'm going to get the updated VIP 2 and drop that in there. And in the meantime, do we have any more questions or comments from prospective students or from our graduates?
I just gave you the new VIP 2 link, and that was
yes. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Perfect. I just dropped that VIP link in there, guys. So feel free to copy paste all of these. We would love to see you at all of these events. And then I did want to reiterate that we are having another Autonomy Quest next Friday at the same time. So if you have any questions, feel free to come back, join us. If if you have any other questions, or if you want to talk to anybody, or if you want to see our next graduate spotlight, because that's always a lot of fun as well. Okay. Well, if anybody doesn't have anything, then I guess that's it. I would encourage you all to go hit up that John Taylor Gatto let's see. Oh, Robert said that we're having a host. Let me see. It's not allowing them to unmute. Let me see if I can. So I just sent him an asking to unmute, but when I try to unmute, he said host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves.
I'm able to unmute right now.
I wonder why. And I sent the message to Robert to ask him to unmute.
That should do it.
Okay, so Robert, if this is your first time using Zoom, no problem. If you just hover over towards the bottom of your screen and all the way to the far left, that should give you the option to unmute yourself. And then we did have a question, Leah. Faye is asking, is the anti-fragile password to be used with the Mindset 2 lecture or something else? So that is the anti-fragile mindset.
Yeah, it's Mindset 1 and Mindset 2. You don't need a password. You can just go right into it.
Perfect. Good question.
I think that's really cool that they're invited to the John Taylor Gatto event tonight, because if you go to that, you'll get a real inside feel for what autonomy was inspired by. So I highly encourage people to attend if they can.
And there's a little bird that says that Richard Grove comes to the Q&A afterwards. So you might want to grab that link.
Yes, absolutely. Please do. Peter, do you maybe want to drop your question in the chat? I apologize for this technical difficulty. I was looking for a way to unmute you myself, but I don't appear to be able to do that.
Talking about Dave, but
Well, there you are.
no, I think you're talking about Dave. I was asking questions before.
Yeah, it looks like
Oh,
Dave.
I apologize. I apologize. It was Robert.
I can't get, it's when I click on the Mindset 1 anti-fragile, it says I can't get access to that for some reason.
That's
I got into the level 2.
Yeah.
Mindset 2.
Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I have the right link. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'm having the same issue with the lecture 1 link.
Sorry, I must have grabbed the wrong link. Let me get you the right one.
Okay, no worries there. And let me see. Oh, Robert, if you want to, send me, type your question, maybe.
For some reason, you can't copy and paste from Zoom either. So how, like, when we're done with this call, how do we like get this link again for the new Zoom call? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think that if you registered, that we should have your email address here, that we could actually directly email that to you. Leah,
Yeah, that'd
can
be
you
cool.
confirm that we could maybe email them the links?
You know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these links and I'm going to put them, if you sign in to where you signed in for the course, I'm going to put all these links in there right now. I'm going to make a little section that has all these links. Okay.
Oh, perfect. That's great. Thank you so
Let's
much,
see if
Leah.
is it going to copy? I don't know. This is strange. Let me see.
I have kind of a cool hack for you guys too. I noticed that if you take a screenshot of something with text, you can highlight the text in your screenshot on most mobile devices.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good hack. Thank you. Okay, so that's great. So we have all the upcoming events. Leah's going to get you guys all the links for the upcoming events. We have another Autonomy Quest next Friday, so please feel free to join us. And then we really encourage you to join the review of the Ultimate History lesson, and especially hanging out for the Q&A so you could meet Richard. That will be really exciting. And then I am checking the chat here just to see if Robert had a chance to write that, because I definitely want to ask you a question. So Robert, I want to answer your question. Oh, is the course okay for a quote street person? I never went to university. Absolutely. That is an amazing question, because this is for all walks of life, all education levels. We have had young people just in my most recent season 10 alone. I was in class with 2 18-year-olds who had just graduated from high school, and they did not want to go the university route and they wanted to learn from this class and go more of an entrepreneur route. And so it's absolutely applicable to all levels of education. Yes, thank you. That's a great question.
You'll have a little bit less unlearning to do.
Yes, that's true. Less indoctrination. Alrighty, guys. Well, if there's no more questions from prospective students, feel free to join the John Taylor Gatto course. I hope to see you over there. And like I said, feel free to join us for our next Autonomy Quest as well.
Yeah,
And
give
I
me
hope you
about
all
30 seconds to have that document for you in that product. And Ashley, you guys, and Carlos, everybody, you guys did an amazing job tonight. Wow.
Thank you so much, Leah. I was very, very happy to be here and happy to have the questions from the new prospective students, hopefully new classmates. I'm very excited to start working with you all.
Natural, Ashley.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'm probably going to see you over at the Ultimate History lesson in just a few minutes.
All right, I'll see you guys at the history lesson. Bye.
Okay, cool.
Ashley, were you saying that that your team is compiling everything and it's going to wind up in our individual libraries? If I do have one with Autonomy, or was it going to wind up somewhere else, all of the upcoming events and the offers?
It should all be, if you already have an account, once you log in, and Leah can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe everything is compiled into your specific account on the University of Reason. So you should be able to see everything that you have access to.
Okay.
It'll be the product Autonomy Quest.
Okay, got it. It'll be in there. All right, super. Thank you so much.
Ashley, give me
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's working now.
There you go. Hey, Robert.
Hey, I just started to work. I don't know why I didn't, but anyways, I just saw that my unmute button came undone. Yeah, I was just interested. I guess everybody's left, but I was just interested in checking out because like I've retired for 7 years now, and when I did, I graduated from school in 71 and I graduated on academic technical. And I went to the entrance counselor at UBC, University of British Columbia. So I was accepted and all that, but I didn't like I totally, at that age, didn't really like the scenario. So I went and got my first job. Well, first job after school. I'd been working since I was in grade 4 doing paper routes and whatnot
Yeah.
in Vancouver. But my first job after school was working on the docks, the longshoreman, and I learned more about things of what's going on and there than I would ever learn in a university. But yeah, I'm interested in
100%.
something definitely interested in something like this. And sorry, I couldn't figure out the Zoom thing. I'll have to do some practice sessions before I come
Oh,
back.
that's okay. That's totally okay. This is, I mean, I feel like everyone who uses this program, we all have technical issues at one point or another, or earlier tonight I was like trying to share my screen and I was struggling with that. So don't even sweat it. And
Yeah.
by the time, if you decide to join us with
Hmm.
Autonomy, you're going to be a Zoom expert because our meetings are held on Zoom. So you'll get a lot of practice.
Yeah, well, that's great. I really appreciate your help and answering my questions, and it's really a pleasure to join in. I'll be back next Friday.
Yay, I'm
And
so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be coming in too for the tomorrow on that try out the brain thing because
Yes, so
that looks really appealing.
Sunday.
And-
Yes, Sunday at
Yeah.
12 Eastern.
And some of my skill sets, like I'm sort of self-taught and everything.
Mhm.
Like after I graduated, I also, while I was working longshoring, I was putting together a band. and or participating and putting together a band. And we had a 4-piece horn section and ended up touring Western Canada for about 5 years. So that was a lot of fun, a lot of experience. And
Yes.
and I also I got into the internet. I took 2 years at British Columbia Institute of Technology for what they called a course called Automated Business Equipment. And it was basically servicing fax machines and printers in offices. And I got my first job with Xerox. My territory was downtown Vancouver. And that was interesting because it was right at the time computers started coming in. So when I started with computers, it was just DOS. My first computer was like an XT, IBM XT, and I got a 20 meg hard drive for like $400. So
That's so
anyways,
cool. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think it's so interesting because there's a lot of musicians, a lot of music lovers in the community as well, and we do have quite a few Canadians. So I'm sure that they would be more than happy to have a fellow Canadian join their ranks in autonomy, and you would probably have a lot of stuff to talk about. There's one guy specifically that he was like a radio DJ, and he's over in Labrador, but I'm pretty sure he was in a band as well, so you would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, thanks a lot for your yeah, talk to me, and I'm glad I got figured this little unmuting thing out. I don't know why I just all of a sudden worked. Like I was hitting the button in the lower left and doing Alt A, but nothing was working. But now
Hey,
it's working. So next time I come in, I hope it'll work again.
hey, Robert, go back into where you had the product, Autonomy Quest, right? Sign back in
Yeah.
and go to the product and look for a thing that says links and scroll to the bottom and click the link for the John Taylor Gatto screening. It's happening right now. And then after that, some of those people might be in that meeting that you can meet.
Oh,
Oh,
really? Okay, I'll
yes.
do. Yeah, okay, that sounds like a plan. I'll go back into my the autonomy. It's got the 2 courses there.
Yeah.
So,
In the Autonomy Quest, and then it's called links, and scroll to the bottom. And the screening is about an hour. It's already started, but don't worry about the screening. That's in our library, and we can get everybody replaced. That's everywhere. But just, it'll be fun for you to meet some of the people afterwards that
yeah,
I think there's people that you're gonna resonate with big time.
100%.
cool.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert. I have loved talking to you. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll talk to you very soon.
Yeah, same as well. Thanks.
Yes,
I'll go try
Great.
out
Thank you.
I'll try the Gato thing now.
Thanks.
Yeah, great.
You there.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
He reminds me of Dave, and he's gonna have like a whole crew of people if he actually.
I know, it's so exciting, and it's
no
funny
idea.
because we talk about the Strange Brew. And he sounded just like the Strange Brew guys. I was like, this is amazing.
I know. Lorraine, is there anything we could help you with?
She may have had us on Autonomy Radio.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're going to end this, but thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Let me stop the recording.